Hi everyone, welcome to In 15 with Rinchin, a show where top experts share their most practical advice in 15 minutes. My name is Rinchin and I'm going to be your host. Our guest for today is Ray Frohnhoefer. Ray is the managing partner of PPC Group, which specializes in helping new and accidental project managers improve their project management practices. Ray is also the best-selling author of 3 project management books on Amazon. During his 40-year career, Ray has led engagements in multiple industries of all sizes across the globe. Today, we will be learning top tips that Ray has to share with the aspiring and growing project managers. So without further ado, let's get started. Hi, Ray. Thank you so much for joining in 15 with Rinchin.
Hi, Rinchin. Thanks for having me today.
Ray is the author of 3 best-selling books on project management on Amazon. One of the books that I really like out of it is The Accidental Project Manager. So, Ray, would you like to throw some light on Accidental Project Manager? Why did you write it? Who should be reading it? And why do you feel it is relevant in today's world?
Well, thanks for that question. I think that one of the things I discovered was that there is a real interest in basic project management knowledge for people who want to advance their careers. But a lot of them find things like the PMBOK guide absolutely overwhelming. So in approaching the book, I looked at what's a framework that's memorable, that they can easily remember and use, and then what are the minimum things that I would want a new project manager to know? So I went through PMI role delineation studies and lists of some of the things that the PMBOK guide contained and checked off the ones that I thought I would want to be minimum knowledge for a starting project manager. And that's how the book started and how it was formed.
It's got some great reviews from all the readers. I went through the book myself, and I personally loved the acronym project that you've used for the project managers to get started on their journey. What does it mean for the project managers who are transitioning into this role?
Well, I was brainstorming with my personal business coach, and we settled on the fact that the word project could stand for people, requirements, organize, gel with the team, execute, control, and transfer. And so that was how we put together that basic structure, and felt that it was something that a project manager could use to structure a project, and went through a couple of exercises to show that this fit within the PMBOK guide structure, and that it's still valuable, and we weren't deviating from other project management tools and methods, and that a lot of different things, including Agile, could fit within that framework.
That's true. What has been your journey so far?
Well, it's been a rather long road, and one that's had to adapt at each turn. I started out mainly in software development, and led a number of significant projects for a company there. But as technology changed, a lot of the things that I was interested in kind of went away. Had to adapt to what I was working on, and I actually had to move out of custom software development into more configuration and projects that involve things like PeopleSoft, Siebel systems, and what they call pre-written software. And, after that, I decided that it was finally time to have my own business. In 2013, I quote unquote semi-retired, formed PPC Group, and one of the things about my career that we haven't talked about yet is the fact that I had a dual career in training and education, and that while I was a project manager, I also did a lot to promote education and training. And so in the 70s and 80s, that meant driving around the Capitol Beltway and teaching classes at night for the employees of the company I worked for. In the 2000s, I worked for PMO and created a lot of their training materials for project management and helped to maintain their project management methodology and created some new tools for them. And so when I formed PPC Group, my goal was to do education and consulting.
That's great.
So it's been an interesting journey. PPC Group has been mostly successful in publishing and training, and I've done a little consulting on the side as well.
Your mission has always been to enable the project managers. So when you're mentoring a lot of accidental project managers, Ray, what are the key things that you share with them for them to get started on this journey?
Well, I think a lot of project management is about people skills, and so I do share a lot about the need to build these skills and how to build them, how to go about building them. I also have found that there is this rush, if you will, this feeling of urgency to get your PMP certification. And now, personally, I didn't have a PMP for the first 20 years of my 40 years career, and I did quite well. And so I try to emphasize the fact that the PMP is not the end-all destination. The PMP is just a stepping stone along the way. And yes, it might be something that is valued and maybe even required, but don't rush into it, or you're going to devalue the certification and yourself. Right? If I take the PMP certification exam and pass it, but I go back to work the next day and I can't actually manage a project, that's a problem. And I think too many project managers feel that they have to cram for this exam. They have to get that knowledge really quickly and pass the exam. I'd rather see them build some project management expertise first and then use that expertise and put it to good use for a while and learn while doing, right? And then take the exam. Because although it might be something that their company requires, they'll do fine without it for a long time.
You're right. These days, everybody is in a rush to get that certificate, and they feel like this is it. Once I have the PMP, I am a know-it-all when it comes to project management. But help me understand, Ray, what are the key skills, that you would suggest to accidental project managers or people who are transitioning into the role of a project manager or an agile project manager to start building right away for them to be successful?
So I think the maybe number one technical skill that I would impress on them is scheduling. I'm part of an advisory board at UC San Diego's Extended Studies Department, and we meet every year with industry leaders and ask them, what do you want your people to know? And one of the things that comes up constantly is people don't know how to develop a schedule, or they develop a schedule and don't know how to follow it, or it's not a good schedule, right? So I would suggest that that's probably one of the first technical skills to develop. Cost, not so much. It depends on your organization and your position, right? I've worked in organizations where cost management was something that even the managers didn't do. It was mainly done by the finance department because everybody in the company was a human resource. And the finance department knows what we're paid. So it was more important to have a schedule that we could follow because that would determine our costs, right, by the number of hours people had to work. And so, again, I would focus on cost. I think probably the number one people skill is communication, right? And not just about speaking or presenting, but listening, how to be an active listener, how to communicate effectively across all levels of the organization, right? Very often I found, for example, that senior executives want a different status report than I might turn into my manager or that I might want my team to read. And so it's important to understand that there isn't just one form of communication, that you're going to have to master multiple forms, and you're going to have to reach people at all levels in the organization. There was one time, for example, on a project where the essentially the CEO of the organization needed to give a presentation on the project we were doing, right? And I was asked to put it together. I ended up having to go through hundreds of slides from past presentations, and then put that together into just 10 slides, right, that the CEO could give to the organization. And it turned out that he delivered it almost verbatim. And it was because I understood how senior executives needed to communicate, not just how I would talk to the stakeholders or the project team or others in the organization. So I think those are those are probably the number one technical and soft skills. And after that, in the book, what I tried to do was look through all these different studies of what project managers need to know, and picked out what I would call the least common denominator. What does any basic starting project manager need to know to be successful?
That's so true. I agree with the knowing your audience and communicating accordingly, because I have seen a lot of project managers do that, wherein they are communicating with a certain audience, assuming that they have the same level of understanding or they have the same level of knowledge as some other audience might have. So how you talk to a developer versus how you talk to, say, a product head versus how you talk to a CEO has to be very different in communication. And absolutely, that's something that you need to understand as a project manager and get that right in order to become more successful. I also like the point around scheduling. I agree, that's one of the biggest pitfalls that you can have. And it's also not just the scheduling, but what if something goes wrong? How do you bounce back? So to that point, what are the pitfalls that you've seen, when people are scheduling?
I think one of the key issues is not having the right requirements, right? Or not understanding fully the scope of the work, leaving things out of the scope that should have been in. I think that's, if I remember right, PMI did a study and showed that something like 37% of projects fail due to requirements issues. And so it's important to get that scope nailed down so that you actually have the right stuff to put in the project. After that, I think sometimes in the rush to become agile, people avoid tools like Microsoft Project or Primavera, and yet they have very powerful capabilities that can tell me when resources are over allocated, that things like a simple Kanban board can't. Right? I can put up all the tasks on my board, and I'm not going to know necessarily that somebody is struggling to finish. There's one person struggling to finish all those tasks. So I think it's important to understand how to manage the resources, how to make sure I have the right resources at the right time, how to be flexible. If I understand what the critical path of the project is, I know what the key things are that have to be done, and they have to be done perfectly, right, for my project to succeed. So if I identify those and I minimize the amount of tasks on that critical path, now I have a lot of flexibility that I can manage this project with. And if something starts late or begins early, it doesn't matter. The other thing that I found is that new project managers, and I was like this myself, the first week of the project, we were behind by a couple hours. And it's like, how am I going to ever recover from this? And we learn over time that if you have a good plan, if you have a good schedule, and you're effectively working it, what's going to happen is over time, some tasks come in early, some tasks come in late, some right on time, it's going to even out. What I have to really be cognizant of is are there some negative trends? Am I week
Yeah.
after week falling behind more and more? Or
Yeah.
was there a big spike? I spent some weeks solving a huge problem, but
Right.
now I'm going to have to recover a lot of time as a result of that, because it's not only the time I lost for that week, but the time that I'm going to lose in fixing that problem. Right? So I think those are the things that we really have to be aware of as project managers to effectively bring things in on time.
That's so true. So, Ray, I know we have a few more minutes left, but uh, what is what does your journey look like from here? What is it that you would want to achieve in the next few years when it comes to project management and this changing world of project management, agile? What is it that you are envisioning?
So I'm watching and listening to see if there's going to be another book. I do have a fourth book. It wasn't as popular as the other three, but nonetheless, there are four of them available on Amazon. So I've stopped doing books for now. I'm trying to share some of my best advice through weekly posts and videos, which I think are being well received and will continue to do. And I continue to support some online events and online training. But I've been doing this for 40 years. I'm leaning a little bit more into retirement. Looking forward to more travel. I still have actually done seminars and training while I was on the road in the past, and so I can continue to do that. But I think the consulting is going to wind down. Some of the training will be restricted to online opportunities, and I'm looking and listening to see what my next book topic might be about.
That's great, Ray. And considering online is it's global, it's everywhere. There are short forms, there are long forms. We hope that we continue listening from you and, get more inspired by your experience and your journey. And we see more of you on LinkedIn because world needs more expertise and experience like yours. Thank you so much for joining N15 with Rinchin and sharing such amazing insights today, Ray. I truly appreciate it.
Well, thank you. It's been my pleasure.